So we've done the in-hand work. We've done some exercises at the trot. We did spiral in, spiral out. We also did the isolations at the walk. We worked on the adjustability of the trot, going between a little trot and lengthening and shortening. So now let's talk about some canter work. And before we actually start cantering, I just want to talk about it a little bit while we're walking here. So the positioning for canter is called second position. When the horse canters, they strike off, the first stride of canter, they strike off with the outside hind foot. And so that is the foot that we need to place between the two front feet initially for them to find balance. It's not to say that a horse cannot canter in first position, but that's a little more advanced. That'll come down the line when we start changing the positioning. So second position, if I'm walking away from you here, it's just outside hind tracking between the two front feet. Okay, we could call that haunches in, travers, you know, those are the formal names for it, but we're just gonna stick with second position. They're all the same, in the same family. Okay, so that's the positioning that I would like to take with Kitty when she strikes off into canter initially. Another thing I want to talk about is just a little more of the details of how I'm going to steer Kitty when she's cantering. How do I turn through a corner? So say I'm cantering along here on the left lead. So I've got to take Kitty from straight to left bend to turn through the corner and then go straight again. So if I'm straight and I need to add bend, that's going to come from my inside aids. So my inside leg will be forward. My reins might come up into the outside a little bit. So I'm creating a little bit of bend before I go and actually ask her to turn. When I ask her to turn, so the second part of that where we're actually making the turn, it's going to come from my outside aids, bringing the outside of Kitty around the turn so that we end up then straight. So the outside aids turn the horse and straighten things, and then we go forward again. So if she gets crooked as we go, you might see me use little pieces of spiral out, spiral in, those type of aids to help straighten her, because as we all know, this is a dynamic situation, and our horses, we're always trying to teach our horses not to lean and to be pleasant for us to be around. So now I'm going to gather up my reins and prepare to trot. Flex that jaw. And we're going to do a trot canter transition now on the right rein. Good. So now I'm going to take my work onto a circle at the canter and start to introduce a tiny bit of spiral in, spiral out at the canter. So we've got spiral in, stepping into my inside stirrup, and spiral out. Spiral out. This is the introduction to canter, being able to canter and balance in first position. It's not a natural balance for the horse to take that inside hind and try to step between the two front feet while it's cantering. Spiral in. It's important while I'm spiraling in that I can keep my flexion to the inside. And don't allow the neck to overbend. So my outside rein is limiting the amount of bend, and spiral out. So on the spiral out, I'm really thinking about sending the right hind up between the two front legs, Not letting the outside shoulder escape to get there. How we get there is really important. And the canter's starting to get, the balance is starting to shift more onto her hindquarters as we go, which is the goal. One more time, spiral in. And spiral back out. Think about that inside hind. Think about how we're getting there. Good. Now I'll let her, good balance. I'll let her go straight. Take a little deeper seat. Great. Now I feel like we're getting a little better connection. I'm going to come across the diagonal. Keep my bend, my flexion to the right, but counter canter left. I think spiral out here. So my body is still in the position for right lead canter, even though we're going left. I'm going to use my, when I talk inside outside now, I'm talking in terms of the bend, not in terms of the direction that we're going in the arena. So my outside left leg will come on, straighten, change the bend, change the lead. So that's how we introduce flying changes. And I'll just let her kind of open up and cover some ground, let her know that was good. Very good. We're gonna come back onto our 20-meter circle. And now work on the left rein. Start to bring this a little more uphill. Squeeze the reins, close the leg. Good. And spiral in. Ah, there's a little resistance. Come on, right hind. So anything that comes out in her face is a result of tension farther back. So it's my job not to pull, but to push at that point. And I know this is working the right hind to spiral in. And now spiral out. Now we're working the left hind. Good girl. And again, spiral in. Yep, you can hear her snorting a little bit, breathing, grunting. This is hard for her. Yep, spiral in. Squeeze my left rein. Encourage her to keep left flexion. Yes, that's it. Aha, good. And spiral back out. Oh, come on. Left hind. Good, we're gonna go big now. And come across the diagonal into counter canter. Work around the poles here. Okay, so we're staying in the shape of left canter, but going right. Keep that jaw flexed to the left. Good. I'm gonna make sure on the straight line that she's tracking straight, not crooked. Good. So now my outside right leg is gonna start to move her over, change the bend, change the lead, good girl. Loose rein, let her go forward. I don't like to do a whole lot of simple changes. This is my program for teaching flying changes. Too many simple changes will get the horse thinking a little too much backwards, in my opinion, and might even get a little shuffly trot step in there that we don't want. So my goal is to make things as simple as possible for my horse, and just being able to get into their backs this way through changing the bend at the canter. As long as we get the positioning correct, they're really set up to change hind foot first. So the setup is the key to flying changes. If your horse is crooked, it's probably not going to change hind foot first. Good. So this is where we're at with Kitty Hawk. Again, 9 months riding. We'll really start to work on the different balances, lengthening, shortening. My goal with her is to maybe start doing some Western dressage or dressage type shows with her in the next 2 or 3 months. That's the plan. She hasn't been shown to this point. We've just really been working on that foundation and getting that solid before we take her away from home to a horse show. So this is where we are with Miss Kitty Hawk. She's my project horse. She'll be the next horse that I'll be advancing. So hope you got some valuable information out of this with Kitty.